She hired a male escort to attend her ex's wedding with her best friend. She just didn't expect him to make her forget the ex for real. Before we begin, tell me something. Where are you watching from? I love knowing how far our stories reach. The rain fell with judicial precision, straight, predictable, relentless. Isadora Moretti watched the drops slide down the glass ceiling of her penthouse, sitting silently in front of an untouched glass of wine. Her phone lit up for the third time in under a minute, as if demanding to be acknowledged. She knew what it was. Same name, same polished pane. Isadora was in her office when the email appeared on the screen. Subject: Our Big Day. Sender: Bianca Faria. She stared at the monitor for 2 whole minutes, motionless. Fingers on the keyboard, not typing. The message read like a polite gesture, almost affectionate. Bianca always knew how to write without sounding guilty. Isadora, it would mean a lot to us if you came. You were part of our story. I hope you'll be there. With someone if you'd like. She laughed, soundless. Part of our story. The phrase felt like a slap wrapped in expensive perfume. The bride's name, Bianca, screamed from the screen. The best friend, the one who held her hand when it all fell apart. The one who said love and friendship were 2 different things. A lie. It had always been a lie. Isadora dropped the phone and took a deep breath, her face expressionless. The wine slid down her throat like a contract signed without reading the fine print. On the wall beside her, her reflection looked like someone else. A flawless woman, cold, with the eyes of someone who would never allow herself to be seen bleeding. And yet inside something still pulsed, something even control couldn't hold down. 3 years earlier, Isadora and Enrique lived together. She was a criminal defense lawyer, 20-hour workdays, goals, files, control. He was an architect, creative, gentle, used to being taken care of. Bianca was the neutral ground between them. Mutual friend, neighbor, easygoing. Too easygoing. The betrayal wasn't explosive. It was a sequence of small permissions, late-night texts, accidental run-ins, dinners that turned into confessions. When Isadora found out, Bianca cried. Enrique apologized. And she, who prided herself on being rational, simply said, "You two deserve each other." Then she left. No scene, no drama, but the damage stayed. 3 years later, their wedding was the talk of the town. Photos in society magazines, hashtags, high-definition happiness, and now, the invitation. With someone if you'd like. Isadora read that line over and over. If you'd like. It wasn't kindness. It was provocation. By the time she closed her laptop that night, the idea had already taken root, quietly, like a loophole written into an ironclad contract. If her ex wanted to show he'd moved on, she'd show she'd moved beyond. The next morning smelled like damp paper and expensive perfume. The law office, glass-walled and silent, reflected the world like a high-heeled aquarium. Isadora walked the hallway with the posture of someone who leaves no cracks. Gray blazer, perfectly pinned bun, voice sharp enough to cut through distraction. But that morning something was different in her stride. Maybe it was the printed email tucked inside her leather folder. Maybe it was the image of a man smiling at another woman at the altar. The accident didn't come as a crash or spilled drink. It came as a conversation she never imagined having. "You're thinking of hiring a professional escort?" Julia, her closest friend and law partner, asked with a smirk of amused disbelief. "No," Isadora replied, not looking up. "I want a shield." "Is that what we're calling it now?" Julia chuckled softly until she realized Isadora was dead serious. "I don't want a fake relationship, just someone who understands the game." "A gigolo, then?" "An escort." Silence, the kind that carries a silent verdict. Julia leaned in, studying her friend. "You're really going to pay a man to go with you to your ex's wedding?" "I'm not paying a man, I'm hiring a solution." Her answer was so precise, there was no room for irony. But underneath the word hiring, something had already cracked. That night, Isadora logged onto a discreet website offering elite companions for social events. The photos looked like catalogues of tailored suits with souls. None of the faces intrigued her, until the last profile. Caio Lacerda, 33. Background in acting. Absolute discretion, premium rate. A single line sat buried in his bio. I don't sell presents. I offer illusion, with an expiration date. She clicked, Request Contact. The clock read 11:59 p.m. The next morning, at 8 sharp, the intercom buzzed. The doorman announced a visitor for Dr. Moretti. Name? She asked, folder already in hand. He said you hired him. For a second, she had no idea what to say. When the elevator doors opened, the man standing there didn't fit the word escort. Black shirt, rolled sleeves, calm gaze, and a barely visible scar slicing across his chin, a detail too small to be threatening, but enough to hint at a backstory. He looked at her the way she hadn't been looked at in years, not with desire, with understanding. Dr. Moretti? His voice was deep, measured, with a pause placed just right. Yes, and you must be Caio. But you can just call me the result of your bad idea. She stared, unsmiling. I hope you're better than you look. I hope the same about you. The silence between them sparked instantly, the kind of silence that warns, the story is about to begin. Caio stepped in without asking, yet somehow didn't feel intrusive. His presence filled the space like a quiet hum that adjusts to its surroundings. No attempts at charm, no rehearsed smiles, just an irritating kind of calm. You can leave your jacket there, Isadora said, gesturing to the back of the couch. I'd rather hold on to it. Never know when it's time to leave. She watched him for a moment. Do you always talk like that? Only when silence feels dangerous. It was 8:10 a.m. The city outside was still crawling through morning traffic. Inside the apartment, the air smelled like coffee and control. I read the brief you sent. Caio opened the leather folder. 3-day social event, wedding, formal setting. No personal involvement. Clear enough? Crystal, I just don't know what you mean by no personal involvement. She stared at him. I call it professionalism. Perfect. So do I. That includes not asking questions. That depends on the kind of lie you're trying to sell. Isadora crossed her arms. It's simple. You'll be my boyfriend for the weekend. No need to improvise emotions. Just look comfortable next to me. And you? What about me? Will you look comfortable next to me? The silence that followed stretched longer than it should have. She looked away, picked up the pen, and signed the contract on the table. Here's your upfront payment. The rest comes after the event. Great. And the dress code? Black tux, no shine. And behavior? Elegant, invisible. Hard to be both. Then try harder. He took the envelope and slipped it into his pocket. Any other rules? Yes. What's that? Don't analyze me. Caio gave a half smile. Too late. The next afternoon, the plane touched down in Porto Seguro. Sunlight sliced through the airport windows like a blade. Isadora walked ahead, heels firm, sunglasses on, face unreadable. Caio followed one step behind, the kind of man who doesn't seem to belong anywhere but fits in everywhere. The car ride to Trancoso was mostly quiet. The driver chatted about the weather, the roads, the exchange rate. Isadora stared out the window. Caio, beside her, watched her reflection in the glass. Do you always travel with that look on your face? He asked suddenly. What look? Like you're about to sue fate, she sighed. I'd rather fight back than pretend to accept. Good answer. It wasn't a compliment. Neither was mine. The car stopped at the resort entrance. Isadora stepped out without waiting for the door to be opened. The sound of waves, the scent of salt and luxury perfume, the flash of cameras. Everything felt staged to remind her where she was walking into. In the main hall, Bianca and Henrique were waiting. Like hosts in a carefully rehearsed scene, he wore white linen. She looked tanned and serene, the kind of couple who believes their own photograph. Isa. Bianca opened her arms, overly cheerful. I'm so glad you came. Isadora smiled with her teeth, not her eyes. So am I. Seemed like the right idea. Henrique extended a hand. You look different. Is that good or bad? It's just true. Caio stepped in at the perfect moment. Caio Lacerda, he said, shaking Henrique's hand with confidence. Pleasure to finally meet the man she almost married. Henrique blinked, caught off guard. Bianca's smile faltered. Isadora glanced at Caio, the first flicker of something resembling respect. He's direct, Henrique said, trying to stay light. Usually helps, Caio replied. Bianca looked at Isadora with that sweet, poisoned expression. You were never one to bring company. I've learned. Solitude doesn't impress anyone anymore. The air grew heavier. Caio took the room key, as if the tension were just background noise. Shall we? He said, as if nothing needed explaining. The room faced the ocean. Open windows, sheer curtains, a bed, far too large. Isadora entered first. Caio dropped his bag and slipped off his shoes. You didn't have to provoke him. I didn't. I just told him what he needed to hear. And what was that? That you've moved on. I haven't. Then fake it better. She glared at him, anger barely contained. You're paid to act, not to teach me. I'm paid to be convincing, and no one convinces if they don't believe the story. She turned away, opened the balcony doors, and let the wind in. For a moment, the sound of the waves filled the silence between them. I don't trust you, Caio. Good. Trust makes things boring. The silence that followed tasted like a dare. That night, the welcome dinner. Champagne, warm lights, guests talking too loud. Isadora wore black, Caio a dark suit and the same guarded gaze. Bianca watched from a distance. Henrique tried not to look, but failed. When Isadora walked to the bar, he followed. Is he your boyfriend? Does it matter? It changes how jealous I'm going to be tonight. She let out a dry laugh. You're predictable, Henrique. And you're impossible. That's why it worked. He opened his mouth to say something, but Caio arrived, placing a glass of red wine in her hand. Thought you'd prefer red, he said. Did I get it right? Henrique stepped away. Bianca watched from across the room, her smile stiff. You did that on purpose, Isadora said. Did what? Timed your entrance just right. The right moment is always the one that bothers the wrong person. She exhaled slowly. You're going to push it too far. I never push. I just stop when the truth shows up. She looked at him, and for a second something between them cracked. Not from attraction, from recognition. Two masters of control, both about to lose the script. The next day began unbearably hot, the kind of heat that strips people of their elegance, that makes even happiness feel like effort. Isadora was up early for breakfast, hair tied back, sunglasses hiding the exhaustion. Caio was already there. White shirt, sleeves rolled, reading the resort's newspaper. You wake up early for this? She asked, pouring her coffee. To observe. Observe what? How people try to look happy. She sat across from him without replying, took a sip, rested her elbow on the table. Last night was awful. I thought you had fun. I was acting, and you were convincing. For them. For me too. She lifted her gaze, weary. You always talk like you're 2 steps ahead. I've just learned to see when someone's about to break. Am I? You're close. The waiter arrived with the brunch menu. Isadora waved him off. Do you think this kind of work is worth it? She asked suddenly. Depends. On what? On who's paying. She offered a half smile. And me? You're paying to control what can't be controlled. Which is? Shame. She stared at him but didn't reply. Her phone buzzed, saving her from answering. A message from Bianca. Rehearsal at 3 p.m. All guests are invited. The kind of line that drips poison, punctuated perfectly. At exactly 3 p.m., Isadora stepped into the resort's glass chapel. Enrique stood at the altar in a light suit. Bianca spoke with the wedding planner, laughing too loudly. Guests scattered among the pews, watching with interest. Isadora sat in the back. Caio sat beside her. "Everyone's staring," he whispered. "I noticed." "Does it bother you? If I said no, I'd be lying." Bianca approached, flawless. Her sweet gaze, her rehearsed smile. "Isa, I'm so glad you came. I thought it would be educational." Bianca laughed, a little too high-pitched. "Enrique and I really wanted you to feel like part of this." "Don't worry, Bianca, I already have." The planner asked for quiet. Bianca returned to the front. Enrique straightened his tie. Caio crossed his legs and observed. "It's strange," he whispered. "What is?" "The way they look at you. Like I'm the problem. Like you're the reminder of what it cost them to forgive each other." She took a deep breath. "You talk like you know what you're seeing." "I do." The rehearsal ended with a light cocktail hour on the terrace. People drank, laughed, posed for photos. Isadora slipped away, leaning on the railing. The sea below looked calm, but the sound of the waves was oddly loud. Enrique approached quietly, glass in hand. "I tried not to invite you, and failed. I thought it was the right thing to do." "To make me watch? To make me see it was over? It's not over for you, is it?" "I don't know." Isadora turned her face, irritated. "You should be with her, Enrique." "I am." "No, you're next to her. That's not the same." He gripped the railing tighter. "You're angry." "Of course I am." "At me?" "At myself, for still feeling something." Enrique looked down. "I never wanted it to be her. You wanted comfort. I wanted not to be the villain." They stood in silence for a few moments, until a voice broke through. The photographers calling for a picture. Bianca stood behind them, pretending to be calm. Enrique let go of the railing, straightened his jacket, walked off. Bianca lingered, looking at Isadora. "I love your dress," she said with a forced smile. "Is it new?" "It is." "Looks stiff. It's built to carry the weight of the occasion." Bianca gave a short laugh. "I wish we could go back to being friends." "Then maybe you shouldn't have slept with my boyfriend." Bianca was speechless. Isadora turned and walked away. Later that night, in the room, Isadora dropped her heels and sat on the floor. Caio stood against the wall, watching her. "That was a good day," he said. "For who?" "For me." "And why is that?" "Because now I know exactly where it hurts in you." She looked up. "And what are you going to do with that?" "Nothing. I just won't miss the wound next time." Isadora leaned her head back against the couch, exhausted. "You're infuriating." "I know. And still effective." "That too," she laughed, tired. "Tell me something, Caio." "What? Why do you do this?" "Because it's easier to help people lie than admit my own." Silence. The sound of the ocean outside was the only thing left. "You know what's strange?" she said finally. "You're the only man here who doesn't seem to want me. And the only one I still haven't figured out. Then we're even." He turned and walked toward the balcony. "Tomorrow's the rehearsal dinner." "I know. It'll be worse." "For who?" "For everyone." And he left, without closing the door behind him. Isadora watched his shadow disappear down the hallway. She didn't know if she wanted him to come back or vanish forever, but she knew one thing. For the first time in 3 years, she didn't feel completely dead inside. The resort's restaurant was all dark wood and open windows facing the sea. Long tables, flickering candles, waiters gliding in silence. Everything in its place, everything painfully perfect. Isadora arrived 10 minutes late. Black dress, understated, hair down. Caio followed right behind, white shirt, sleeves rolled. The bride and groom were already there, Enrique and Bianca seated at the center like hosts pretending not to feel the weight of what they'd built. The other guests spoke too loudly, as if sound could fill the silence. Enrique noticed her first. Tried to hide it, but Bianca saw she always did. "Isa!" Bianca waved. Finally. Air traffic, Isadora replied coolly. Kaio nodded with a faint smile. The entire table subtly shifted. Her presence changed the air, like a cold current slipping through a closed room. The first toasts were predictable, jokes about the couple, travel stories, forced laughter. Isadora sipped her drink slowly. Kaio watched quietly. At one point, Enrique raised his glass. "I want to thank everyone for being here." He paused, looked toward Isadora. "Especially those who have been part of my life in different ways." For a second, the clinking of glasses froze. Bianca placed a tense hand on his arm. Isadora's face didn't change. Kaio leaned toward her and whispered, "That was a cheap shot." "I expected worse," she replied. Enrique went on, "I just want to say time teaches us that sometimes we make mistakes trying to do the right thing." Isadora swirled her glass between her fingers. "And sometimes we just do the wrong thing," she murmured, without looking at anyone. Bianca heard it. "Isa, are you still holding a grudge?" "I hold memories. Grudges waste time." A groomsman tried to shift the conversation, but the tension had already sunk in. The dinner dragged on in broken dialogue and silences that lingered too long. When the wine was served, Bianca stood to make a toast. To new beginnings, to the courage to start from scratch. Isadora lifted her glass, unenthusiastically. Kaio looked at her, then at Bianca. "To courage," he said neutrally, "and also to honesty." Silence fell like a dropped glass. Bianca gave a nervous laugh. "You're an actor, aren't you?" "I work with behavior." "And how's hers?" Bianca asked, tilting her head toward Isadora. Kaio took a beat. "She's right at the edge." Enrique frowned. "You talk too much for a paid date." "I only respond when asked." Isadora intervened, calm. "Kaio, leave it." "It's okay," he said. "I've figured out the game." The mood soured. No one laughed anymore. The candles flickered. Outside, the waves sounded louder. Bianca exhaled. "You know, Isa, sometimes I think you're still stuck in the ending." "And you think marrying him will get you out?" Isadora replied, direct. "I love Enrique." "I hope so. I loved him before you did." Bianca blinked, hit. Enrique placed his napkin on the table. "I think that's enough." Kaio stood as Isadora did. They walked out before anyone could say another word. Outside, the wind was warm. Isadora walked fast, barefoot, heels in hand. Kaio followed. "Want me to tell you they're idiots?" he asked. "No need, I already know." "Want me to say you walked out on top?" "I didn't, I walked out tired." They stopped by the empty pool. Light shimmered across the water. "That was horrible," she said. "It was necessary." "For what?" "To understand how much it still matters to you." Isadora sat at the edge of the pool, eyes lost in the water. "I shouldn't have come." "You should have. Otherwise you'd keep wondering. Now you know that I lost. That you survived." She let out a humorless laugh. "You talk like you know me." "I observe. And what do you see now?" "Someone exhausted from managing her own damage." She looked at him, serious. "And what do you do when someone like that hires you?" "I try not to get involved." "Does it work?" "Never." The silence between them was almost tangible. No waves, no people, just breath. "Do you think I'm a difficult person?" she asked. "I think you're tired." "That's worse." "No, it's just more honest." She stared at him, her gaze lingering longer than it should. Then she stood, tossed her shoes onto the side table and walked away. Kaio remained, watching her reflection disappear in the water. His face revealed nothing. But his shoulders finally seemed undefended. The room was dark, lit only by a single bedside lamp. The sound of the ocean filtered in, soft, muffled, relentless. Isadora entered without turning on any other lights. She slipped off her dress and stood there for a moment, wearing only a shirt. She stared at her reflection in the mirror, tired face, hardened eyes, body tense. She picked up the last bottle of wine, poured a glass, and sat on the edge of the bed. Minutes later, 2 knocks on the door. She didn't ask who it was. She opened it. Kaio stood there, shirt unbuttoned, expression calm. "Can I come in?" he asked. "You're already here." He stepped in and shut the door, stood still, unsure of where to place his hands. That dinner was a mess. It was. You handled it well. No, I just didn't give them the pleasure of watching me break. Kaio moved toward the window, leaned his shoulder against the wall. "If I were you, I would have walked out earlier." "I almost did, but I wanted to see how far they'd go." "And what did you find out?" "That they're cowards, and that it still hurts more than I'm willing to admit." She took a sip of wine. "Have you ever been cheated on, Kaio?" "Yes." "What did you do?" "I left." "Without saying anything?" "Nothing worth hearing." "Did it work?" "It worked, but the anger stayed." She nodded, eyes on the floor. "Anger keeps me standing too. It's a kind of crutch. It's the only one that hasn't snapped." Silence. They stayed there, not looking at each other, but aware of the space between them. Kaio crossed his arms. "You know what's strange about you?" "Pretty sure it's not a compliment." "It's not." "Then go on." "You're a woman who doesn't need anyone. But you hate the idea that no one needs you." Isadora looked at him sharply. "That's cheap psychology. It's observation. You don't know me. I know enough to see you feel alone, even when you're winning." She took a deep breath. "It's easier to be cold than admit it still hurts. Coldness is just a way to delay the fall. You talk like someone who gets it." "I do." He stepped closer. Not quickly, not dramatically, just enough for her to catch the scent of salt and cigarette on his skin. "Are you always like this with the women you work with?" she asked. "I don't work with women." "You know what I mean." "No, I don't." They stood face to face without touching. She looked at him, really looked, for the first time since they'd arrived. "Do you have something against silence, Kaio?" "I do." "Why?" "Because that's when people say what they don't mean to." She set her glass down, eyes locked on his. "And what am I saying right now? That you want to forget how you feel, but don't know how. And what would you say to that?" "I don't know either." She looked away, sat on the bed, crossed her legs. "Tell me something true." "Like what?" "Anything." "I've been to jail." She raised her eyes, surprised. "For what?" "Bar fight. A friend of mine got hit, and I stepped in." "How long?" 2 months. "And what did you learn?" "That most people lie about the kind of man they are, including me." Isadora stayed silent. The air thickened with it. "Your turn," he said. "My turn for what?" "To tell the truth." She paused. "I hated Bianca before I found out about the affair." "Why?" "Because she made me feel predictable. I was the serious one, she was the light one. I worked. She lived." "And Henrique?" "Henrique liked the reflection he saw in me. When I stopped being the woman who admired him, he found someone who still did." Kaio nodded slowly. "That's not love. It's vanity." "And do you still love him?" "I still remember." "That's almost the same thing." She let out a breathless laugh. "You always talk like you have all the answers." "I don't have any. I've just stopped running from the questions." Isadora looked at him for a few seconds, then stood, walked to the balcony and opened the door. The wind slipped in, cool and sharp. "Tomorrow's the wedding," she said. "I know. They'll get married and I'll applaud. And after, I'll go back to my life." "And what is your life?" "The one I pretend to live so I don't feel ashamed of the one I actually have." Kaio watched her. "You should drink less. And you should talk less. Too late for both of us." She turned toward him. "Are you leaving after it's all over?" "If you want me to, yes. And if I want you to stay?" We'll figure it out tomorrow." For a few seconds, neither of them spoke, just the wind and the soft rustle of the curtain. Kaio stepped forward, didn't touch her, just said, "Get some sleep, tomorrow will be worse." And he left, without looking back. Isadora stood alone, staring at her half-full glass. She thought of crying, but her body wouldn't follow. She lay down and stayed awake until the sun began to rise, her heart quiet, but no longer dead. The sun rose with no kindness, too bright, too hot, the kind of day that seems to laugh at someone else's pain. Isadora woke before her alarm. She lay still, staring at the ceiling. Her body ached like it had spent the night wrestling something invisible. Maybe it had. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, messages from the guest group, schedules, reminders, beach photos of the couple. She scrolled slowly, reading without absorbing. Everything looked ridiculously staged. Their love, everyone's joy. The idea that this was a happy ending. Kaio knocked on the door shortly after 9. Came in without ceremony, like someone who already knew the way. Dress pants, shirt unbuttoned at the collar. That same look, clear, grounded, almost clinical. "Did you sleep?" he asked. "Barely." "Did you dream?" "Can't remember." "Better that way." She poured herself a coffee. He leaned against the counter, watching her. "You seem calmer," he said. "It's the kind of calm that comes when you accept the worst already happened. And if it hasn't yet, then I'll be ready." Kaio nodded, no sarcasm. "I like that about you." "What?" "The way you talk about pain, like it's a task with a deadline." "It's my only talent." "It's not." She glanced at him sideways. "Are you trying to be kind now?" "No, I'm trying to be fair." Silence. He watched her fasten her necklace, tie up her hair, apply her lipstick. Nothing in her looked unsure. But he knew, and she knew that he knew, the confidence was just well-rehearsed armor. The ceremony began late in the afternoon, the sky a shade of rust, the wind too warm. The altar stood at the edge of the beach, draped in white flowers. Rows of chairs aligned like symmetry could make up for lack of sincerity. The guests wore their best smiles. Bianca, in a flowing dress with a deep neckline, looked like she'd stepped off a magazine cover. Henrique, handsome, too pale, carrying the smile of someone trying hard to believe he was happy. Isadora arrived hand in hand with Kaio. Their entrance shifted the gravity in the air within seconds. Whispers rippled through the rows, heads turned, glances exchanged. It was inevitable. She knew it, and she liked knowing. Bianca came to greet them. The hug was brief, formal, cold. "You look beautiful," Isadora said. No irony. "Thank you, I'm glad you came." "So am I. This way I get to see the end of what started behind my back." Bianca held her gaze for a second, then looked away. "I hope you enjoy the day." "I will. I promise not to ruin the picture." Kaio remained silent, watching the two of them like someone studying a scene only half rehearsed. During the vows, Isadora sat motionless. The wind played with her hair. Petals danced in the air. The priest's voice sounded distant, irrelevant. All she saw was Henrique's face, trying to look steady, and Bianca's, trying to look happy. When Bianca began to speak, her voice shook, not from nerves, from something else. "I believe true love is the kind that survives mistakes, that understands, that begins again, that forgives." The words sliced through Isadora like irony in its sharpest form. She turned her face slightly, took a long breath. Kaio noticed. Henrique took longer than he should to respond. He looked down, then out at the horizon, and for 1 second, just one, he looked at Isadora, not with guilt, with longing. Bianca saw it. His pause stretched into an awkward silence. Guests shifted in their seats. The photographer hesitated to press the shutter. Henrique cleared his throat, trying to reclaim the moment. "I promise to care for you, Bianca, and I promise to learn from everything I've been." Kaio leaned in just slightly and whispered, "He's still talking to you." "I know," she replied. The ceremony ended with polite applause. Dinner followed right after, beneath the same heavy sky. Tables lit by candles and hanging lights. People drank too much, laughed too loud, talked fast to avoid the discomfort no one dared name. Isadora and Kaio sat at a side table. She sipped her drink slowly, watching from a distance. Bianca floated among the guests, her smile rehearsed. Henrique stood with a group of friends, but his eyes never left her. "Do you want to leave?" Kaio asked. "Not yet." "Why not?" "I want to see the moment they truly believe they're happy." He leaned back, studying her. "That sounds cruel." "It's just fair." Henrique approached, glass clinking, music muffled in the background. He stopped beside their table, unsure. "Can I?" he asked. Isadora stared at her glass. "You can, but you won't like what I have to say." He sat. Kaio watched silently. Henrique took a breath. "I shouldn't have invited you." "But you did. I thought I needed to prove something." "And? Did you?" "No." Isadora looked him dead in the eyes. "You know what's the worst part of all this?" "What?" "That deep down, I still wanted it to go wrong." Henrique lowered his gaze. "I never meant to hurt you." "But you did. And still, you came." "I came to remind myself I exist outside of you." He looked at her, that same look from years ago, a mix of longing and guilt. "Do you still feel something?" "Yes, anger." Henrique exhaled. "She envies you, you know? Then you two have something in common." The sound of glass shattering came from the next table. Bianca stood there, eyes glassy, face frozen. "I should have known it would end like this," she said, staring at them. "End like what?" Isadora asked, cool and sharp. "With you ruining what I tried to rebuild." "I didn't ruin anything, Bianca. I just showed up." Henrique stood. "That's enough." "No, Henrique," Bianca snapped. "She needs to hear it." She turned to Isadora. "You've always needed to be on top, always, even when you lost." Isadora stood slowly, her voice low but steady. "I didn't lose you, Bianca. I let you go." Bianca blinked, fighting the sting. Henrique stood between them, unsure where to look. Kaio rose too, his tone calm. "I think we've had enough for one night." "Stay out of it," Bianca hissed. He held her gaze. "I already am, just helping close the curtain." Isadora looked at him. There was something in his eyes, not pity, not concern, respect. She grabbed her purse, turned to the couple and said, "Congratulations, you truly deserve each other," and left. Kaio followed. No one stopped them. The music kept playing, but the air had shifted, heavy, like everyone had just witnessed something they'd rather forget. On the beach, the wind was strong, the sand cold. Isadora walked barefoot, dress gathered in her hands. Kaio close behind. "Want to talk?" he asked. "No." "Want to scream?" "No." "Then what do you want?" "A little silence that doesn't judge me." He stepped beside her. Neither looked at the other, only the sea ahead, dark, indifferent. "You know what bothers me the most," she said. "That even after everything, I still needed to see it with my own eyes to believe it was over." "Is it over now?" "Yes, now it is." "What comes after?" "I don't know. Maybe nothing." Kaio looked at her. "Nothing can be a beginning too." She laughed, tired. "Don't start with poetic lines." "I don't know how to sound poetic." "Then say something true." "True?" "Yes. That you didn't deserve an ending like this." "No one does. But you can take it." "I always do." "That's the problem." She looked at him, and for a moment, everything between them went still. The wind, the ocean, the noise, just the silence between two souls. Kaio stepped closer. "I don't know what happens after this," he said, "but I want you to know I didn't come here just for the money." "I know. You do." since the first day. Her gaze softened. So did his. No rush, no tension. Just two exhausted people finding an unfamiliar kind of peace in each other's presence. She rested her head on his shoulder. It wasn't romantic. It was just exhaustion asking for room to breathe. They stayed like that for a while, silent, watching the ocean. Nothing was said. Nothing needed to be. The waves spoke for them. And for the first time in 3 years, Isadora breathed without needing to prove anything to anyone. The sun rose heavy, not the golden, theatrical kind from the wedding, but a pale, washed-out light that looked tired of shining. The ocean hit harder now. The wind dragged remnants of the night, empty bottles, loose petals, silk ribbons knotted to chairs. Everything seemed slightly out of place, the perfect scene for the after. Isadora woke before the alarm. Her head throbbed, not from a hangover but from emotional fatigue. Her body felt like it had survived a war no one saw. She looked around. The room was still. The bed beside her, empty. No sounds from the bathroom, no luggage left behind. On the nightstand, a handwritten note. "You don't have to say anything. I understand." The handwriting was steady, simple. The kind of script from someone who's not used to leaving traces. She stared at the note for a while. She didn't cry, just took a deep breath and tucked it into her purse, next to her powered-off phone. She opened the window, the scent of salt and coffee mixed with the damp morning air. Outside, hotel staff were dismantling what remained of the celebration. Wilted flowers, wine-stained napkins, melted candles. Everything reminding her how joy comes with an expiration date. She stood there for a moment, watching the scene being taken apart. It felt like watching her own life being packed up, piece by piece, efficiently, without emotion. And somehow there was comfort in that. Things end, but they continue to exist, in a different way, in a different place. The resort lobby smelled like perfume and goodbyes. Lined-up suitcases, polite smiles, rushed checkouts. Isadora walked slowly, heels in hand, hair pulled into a loose bun. She said little, looked even less. In line at the front desk, she saw them. Henrique in a white shirt, phone to his ear. Bianca beside him, silent behind sunglasses. They looked like a commercial for forgiveness, the kind that sells reconciliation in under 30 seconds. But their bodies didn't touch. She noticed. The marriage already looked like an old photograph. She passed by them without changing her pace. No greetings, no eye contact. Life, as always, had a way of moving forward without asking permission. Outside, the driver was waiting, suitcase already in place. She got in the car and said only, "Airport." He nodded and started the engine. On the road, Isadora remained quiet, staring out at the path winding between green hills and ocean. The sky was dull, the light cold. As if the day too had stopped pretending to be joyful. The airport was, as it always had been, lines, voices blending, anonymous announcements. She passed through the gates and sat near her boarding gate. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't open her laptop, didn't read, didn't answer emails, didn't pretend to be productive. She just sat there, watching people come and go, couples returning from vacation, families juggling bags, smiles she knew wouldn't last the week. When the plane took off, she looked out the window. Clouds blanketed the sea. The horizon slowly vanished. That's when she noticed. There was no pain, no anger, no longing, just absence. And that absence, quiet, clean and cold, was a kind of peace she had never known. Back in Sao Paulo, the air was dry and the sky colorless. The taxi crawled through the city, horns blending with the driver's radio. Isadora leaned her head against the window and closed her eyes. The city's chaos somehow felt easier to understand than the silence she had just left. When she got home, she left the suitcase in the hallway, didn't turn on all the lights, kicked off her shoes, walked to the balcony and pulled back the curtains. The city at night was a mix of noise and solitude, the combination that had always defined her. She went to the bathroom, washed her face, tied her hair, and stared at her reflection. She was still the same woman, Same firm gaze, same trace of exhaustion at the corners of her mouth. But something had shifted. Less armor, less resistance, a kind of acceptance that came without pride, but also without guilt. She let the water run over her hands for a few more seconds, thought of Caio, the note, the way he always spoke in the exact rhythm of truth, thought of Bianca and Henrique and the promises already cracking, and realized none of it mattered anymore. Everything had already played the role it was meant to play. In the end, pain has a purpose too. It clears out what was never real. That night, Isadora went to bed early. The phone buzzed on the nightstand, work messages, unread notifications. She turned the screen face down and closed her eyes. There was nothing left to prove, not to anyone, not to herself. Before sleep took her, she remembered something Caio had said the day they met. "I'm not good at lies, just at behavior." Now she understood what he meant. Sometimes it's not about what we feel, it's about what we choose to do with what's left. She took a deep breath, and for the first time in years, slept through the night. 3 months had passed. Summer was long gone. São Paulo was grey, humid, and the traffic as slow as ever. Isadora stared at the city from her office window, the same place where everything had started. Same glass, same sounds, but nothing inside her was the same. Her phone buzzed on the desk. A short message. "You still owe me a coffee." She read it twice, didn't smile, but didn't look away either. She grabbed her bag, shut down her computer, and left without telling anyone. The cafe was small, tucked on a quiet corner with brick walls and the smell of fresh roast. Caio was already there by the window, dark shirt, sleeves rolled up, the same calm gaze as always. She stopped at the door for a moment. He looked up and saw her. Neither of them moved quickly. They seemed to measure the space, like returning to a familiar but risky territory. She walked over. "I thought you weren't going to write." "I thought the same about you." "So why did you?" "Because some people don't leave your mind." "Is that a good thing?" "Not always, but it's true." She sat. The waiter brought 2 coffees without being asked. They sat in silence for a while, the clink of porcelain marking the space between breaths. "So?" she asked. "What have you been up to?" "Nothing exciting. Working less, trying to exist more." "That sounds balanced." "And you?" "Back to routine, which is just another form of anesthesia." He studied her for a moment. "You seem lighter." "I don't know if it's lightness, maybe just well-managed exhaustion. That's the beginning of lightness." Outside, rain began to fall. Faint, almost invisible. Isadora stirred her coffee without looking at him. "That night on the beach," she began, "I remember. I thought you'd disappear. I did, but I didn't leave." "What's the difference?" "The difference is, I came back." She looked at him. There was something different in his eyes, not the same as before. Less control, more presence, as if time had worn away the cynicism. "Are you still in that line of work?" she asked. "Not anymore." "Why?" "Because I met someone who made the job meaningless." She held his gaze, and something in the air between them shifted. The rain outside grew louder. Caio leaned back in his chair, eyes still on her. "Why did you call me?" she asked, almost a whisper. "Because I wanted to see you, without contract, without script, without pretending." "And what did you expect to find?" "Exactly this." He paused. "You, as you are." She took a deep breath, like someone trying to hold something back. But there was nothing left to hold. She stood. "Let's get out of here." "To where?" "Anywhere no one knows who we used to be." Outside, the city was draped in rain. They walked quickly, but with no real urgency. She got in the car. He followed. The sound of rain on glass was the only noise. Neither spoke for a few minutes. Until she said, "I thought I'd never feel anything for anyone again. And now? Now I'm afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Of being happy. and not recognizing it. He looked at her, that gaze, the one she always pretended not to need. He rested his hand over hers, simple, direct, no permission asked. She didn't pull away. Her apartment looked the same, but felt different. Soft lighting, closed windows, the distant sound of rain. She entered first, took off her coat, turned to him. "You don't have to say anything." "I wasn't going to." The closeness came slowly, without choreography, the kind of movement that happens when time stops demanding explanation. There was no rush, just clarity. Their bodies met like a space had finally been bridged. The kiss, silent, inevitable, wasn't a beginning. It was rest. The kind of touch that comes after every internal war has been fought. Nothing was said, nothing needed to be. If this were a film, the camera would pull away through the window, leaving only the reflection of lights, the rain, and the soft sound of breath. A few days later, at an architecture event, casual, public, Isadora was with Caio, both quiet, steady, with the ease of people who owed no explanations. Henrique and Bianca were there. He saw her first. Bianca noticed his gaze, said nothing. They stood still, watching from afar. Isadora and Caio laughed at something small. Something only they understood. Not a performance, not for show, just two adults who had learned how to be together without spectacle. Henrique looked away. Bianca squeezed his hand, tense. They knew. Life had moved on, not with forgiveness, but with consequence. In the car heading home, Caio drove in silence. Isadora watched the city pass, her face lit by the streetlights. "Are you okay?" he asked. "I am." "Are you sure?" "I am. For the first time, I am." He nodded, calm. She turned to him and said, "Do you think we work?" "We already do. The rest is just maintenance," she laughed. A real laugh, brief, honest, unlike any he'd heard from her before. The car rolled through the wet city, and for the first time in a long time, she felt no rush, no fear, no need to prove anything. The world outside remained the same, grey, loud, unpredictable. But inside the car, there was silence. And in that silence, there was peace. Some say time heals. That's a lie. Time doesn't heal anything. It just moves the mirror further away, until one day you look again and realize you don't bleed from the same place. Isadora didn't forget, didn't forgive, but she understood. And that was enough. She understood it's not love that breaks us. It's the act of pretending to be whole when we're in pieces. She understood that sometimes you have to lose control to come back to life. And moving on isn't about starting over. It's about walking forward, knowing it still hurts, just not the same way. Caio appeared when she'd stopped expecting anything, and stayed, not because she needed him, but because he wanted to. There's a world of difference between needing and wanting, and that difference is what finally set her free. Life doesn't hand out perfect endings. It gives us moments, and the rest is choice. Isadora chose to stop surviving and start living. And that's the only victory that matters. If you've ever loved someone who left and still found a way to stand the next day, then you are Isadora too. And if one day you meet someone who sees you without needing to fix you, don't run. Maybe that's your Caio. Because in the end, the real love story is always with the person you became after everything ended.